What's up everyone? I just made a poll yesterday, 21 hours ago apparently, and I asked you where you usually start your DAW projects, and most people said first bar, and this is directly followed by after 4 bars. But we can say that if we put all of these together, then we are also above first bar. So basically there are more people who don't start at first bar than people who do. So I went into the comments and just checked what everyone was talking about, and I saw that a lot of people are actually talking about recording here. They want to make sure that they can record with pre-roll. Yeah, that seems to be the topic for everyone here in the comments. I don't know if it's because they read what other people wrote before and then they just went on with the same topic, but it could very well be that recording is one of the main aspects why people would not start at the first bar for many people. The funny thing is though that I made this poll for a different reason, which is the arranging stage and also a bit of mixing, because it can sometimes be that while you are mixing you're going back to the arrangement stage. For example here, I had this situation where I had less of this project. Basically I had this being at 1 and then I wanted to move it over so that I can fit 4 more bars in here. So I basically took everything and I pulled it to the right, and then something weird happened. Listen closely to the vocals.
Seems like our time has come. We'll be constant.
And now you might be wondering, why do the vocals come before we can see the waveform? And that's because of Melodyne, because Bitwig does not have error support. So when you're capturing something, then it will just remember the exact position where you captured it, and you cannot move it to the side, and it will not automatically move when you're moving the events to the side. And that's different when you have error support in a DAW. And I'm not saying that Bitwig should now support error, because that is quite an advanced technology and it is definitely a huge step for a DAW developer to support error. There must be a really good reason for that. So that is not my point here, even though sometime in the future I would say maybe that would be cool, but for now I would say not a high priority actually. But what I want to say is that everyone should get into the habit of leaving enough space to the left side because of arranging, because when you are suddenly finding yourself wanting to have a longer intro, you suddenly get into problems like this. Now what can you do, at least in Bitwig, to solve this problem? For example, you could just bounce this track. As you can see, that didn't even work because it just ignored the last line, and I know why it did that, because when you don't have the Melodyne window opened while doing that, then it will ignore the places where there is silence. So we have to do it again. Great, so now we have all lines and we can just take the whole folder. One thing that I forgot to mention is you cannot bounce in place on the track itself, then it will not take the effects into account, but you can only put the track into a group and then bounce that group. And then you can move the group over so that it actually starts here, even though that means that the original track is not aligned with the project anymore, but still you can at least see on the waveform here that you are now having the correct waveform. And now let's listen.
Seems like our time has come.
And now the last line is there as well.
It's just the way of life.
Alright, so lately I made a feature request to Bitwig and they said that they didn't like the feature request. My feature request was that when you are showing the real-time ruler, which shows the time in seconds, then I wanted to have a little something here that I can drag to give an offset to the real-time ruler. Now, because let's pretend like I still had some space left to my side here, which I should have, but I kind of forgot to do that when I moved the stuff over. Again, so you know, this is my own problem that I keep forgetting these kind of things. But let's just say that stuff would start at the 9th bar now. Then I would want to have the 0 seconds mark at the 9th bar as well, so that when I'm actually having the export marker starting here and then exporting stuff and sending other people wave files, then when they tell me something is weird about 1 minute and 8 seconds, then I would want to have 1 minute and 8 seconds starting from here be the thing to look for when zooming in, and not, you know, having to calculate that from my wave files back into how the project sees it. It's always good when all the things are aligned, in my opinion. And they basically said that they don't like that because they claimed that it's normal to start at bar 1. The people who wouldn't want to start at bar 1 anymore should use the feature for adding silence. I don't even know where that feature is actually, but I also don't care because as we've just seen, there are definitely reasons not to start at bar 1 in a project. For example, so that you don't run into issues like this. This really slows down my workflow now because now every time I want to tweak something, I have to remove this bounce again, and then I can tweak stuff and then I have to bounce it again and move it over. I could at least put all these effects that come after Melodyne over to the group so they don't have to be bounced with it, so that only Melodyne is the thing I'm bouncing for. But that would only make it a little bit better. That is the reason why I would say that it's just generally not a good idea to start at bar 1. There are also some other reasons, as mentioned by the people who commented here. Something about recording, you want to have pre-rolls and you don't want to have just a click, but a pre-roll that you define yourself so that you can get a better feel into the beat. Or another thing that I could come up with, which happened to me a long time ago, is I was using Effectrix. Do you know the plugin Effectrix? I think I had an older version of Effectrix, or maybe I just had this one, I don't know. The thing is, this has a very long sequencer. It's just longer than a bar, you know? So I had that on a track and I had it only doing something every 4 bars or something like that. And then at some point, without thinking about it, I just moved over the whole project 2 bars or something like that in order to get some space for the intro. And then this effect didn't do what it should anymore, and I didn't immediately notice, because obviously when you're just moving over stuff to get an intro time, then you are not thinking about Effectrix, you are thinking about your intro. You're not in the headspace to think about all of the effects that might interfere with this decision to move stuff over. And that's why moving stuff over in a DAW is always a tricky process and to be avoided, because otherwise you will just find out that your project doesn't work the same anymore as it did before, and you might be wondering and wasting time how that works. And as far as I can see, this plugin also doesn't have a phase parameter where you can just change the phase of the whole thing so that you don't have to write everything again in your sequencer. And you know, I don't want to blame Effectrix for that, because it's like a problem of DAWs in general, not of plugins, because otherwise you would have to jump into every single plugin and adjust the phase whenever you are moving everything around, which also seems kind of silly to me. Not starting from bar 1 is important, and as a nice additional feature, I would wish the real-time marker to also represent this workflow that is clearly better than not doing it.